You're welcome to the Policy Council. My name is Okweyemi Agbaje. Today I have a special guest, and together we'll just talk around a range of policy: education, health, democracy, governance, development. And we'll come to some agreement on what needs to happen for Nigerians to experience the dividends of democracy. Enjoy the program. You're welcome back. It's still the Policy Council, and I have a very good guest with me today. I'm happy to have, I call him my Egbon, even though we are not directly related. I have Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, a pharmacist and politician, as my guest. You're welcome, sir.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much. You don't hold a government office. You are a private Nigerian, but you've been in the policy space. You've been in the political space. And therefore, I think our viewers will want to have your views across a range of issues. So let me start with education. I know you went to my old university.
The best university.
Ife. well, in your time and my time, yes. It was University of Ife.
Yes.
It's now Obafemi Awolowo University. What do you think about the state of the university system in Nigeria?
Well, I believe that our university system is no different from the entire education system. Things are not going well. I mean, even the indices do not show that we are to be reckoned with. Don't forget that when we went to university, my degree allowed me to practice as a pharmacist in other countries of the world. Today, it is no longer so. Today, if I want to practice in any other part of the world, I have to do some qualifying exams, which I didn't have to do before. That begins to tell you how weighty
how the world perceives
our degrees at this point in time. So there is a lot of work to be done.
What do you think the problem is?
Well, I think we're not investing enough in education, exactly. Not just in terms of material resources, but even human resources. We're not getting down to it, and it's a problem that starts from the very roots. It doesn't come up at the university level. It comes up right at the primary school level. I keep saying that in our times, when we went to school, it was our parents that were teachers. You always found somebody who maybe was not even as educated, was not so educated, but had that presence of mind, had that influence, that weight to be able to put you in check. You no longer have that. Today's children appear to be superior to even the teachers. So it creates a problem. The teachers themselves have a complex to their students, and you know, there are basic issues. Then of course, how educated. I mean, if you're not bringing out proper graduates, how are they going to teach the young ones better? It's a knowledge-based world, and therefore the reality is that your strength is in how good you are compared to other parts of the world. If you're not good, then you cannot cope. These are some of the issues that I think we need to
There's a particular concern I have about the university system, which was recently illustrated at LASU. Some young up-and-coming musician, they call him Damoche, was shot dead at the university gate. After four years in university. I know that when you were in Ife, and when I was in Ife many years after you, there must have been these fraternities and calls, but they didn't kill anybody on campus.
It was fraternity of fun. I mean, I remember that even then, the fraternities around were the Pirates Confraternity, for example, and when they sailed, or whatever it is they called it, we listened, they sang songs, and that was it really. I don't know what else they did behind closed doors, but at least to that extent, that was what we saw. Unfortunately, it has changed. But again, it's not just the university, it's the society. It's the society at large. I mean,
what has changed about society?
Our value system has changed. We do not have the moral values that we used to have. We do not have we don't even share the goals. Shall I say we don't share common goals any longer. The law is as good as you want it to be. Your right is as determined by you, not by society. So what is right is as by your definition, not as by the societal definition. And these are realities. So if you feel it's right for you to carry a gun, then it becomes right by you. If you feel it's right to kill somebody,
so that's a total breakdown.
It's a breakdown, definitely.
But the question is, where did it come from?
We lost it somewhere along the line. I think it had to do with the sudden wealth that we came into. I would like to take it back to the 70s, the early 70s. You know, you suddenly made money without working hard for it. And I think it's no different from somebody who has come into money that he hasn't worked for. His values change. All he knows is money. And I think the same kind of thing. Nigeria just got into money that he didn't plan for. He got into money that he didn't work for. God gave us oil and gave us the money with it, and we just lost it.
Let's take a short time out, and I'll continue this discussion with Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, pharmacist, politician, civil society leader. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. It's the Policy Council. I am Okweyemi Agbaje, and my guest is Jimmy Agbaje. The Agbajes are having it
very good brand
today. So Egbon, as you were saying, it has something to do with oil. Did it have something to do with military rule also?
Well, the military came at the same time as oil. And, you know, it's the same thing. You got money you didn't plan for. The military came into power. They didn't necessarily plan to be in power. So you now had governors.
And they are not accountable.
They're not accountable to anybody. And you had so much money. Don't forget, we had a time when the head of state of this country said he had so much money, he didn't know what to do with it. I wonder whether America would ever say such a thing. I wonder whether Saudi Arabia even would ever say it had so much money, he didn't know what to do with it. It's the same kind of thing. It was money that came unplanned for. And we have not recovered from that.
Okay.
So what you have, is you still have a situation till today where our thought process is always on how to share this money, never how to make it, never how to manage it to make more. It's always how do we share. So every argument when we're talking about appointments is what's my share. You know, when we're talking of appointments, of allocations, it's what's my share of. It's never how do we make it better, how do we make it bigger.
It's what Richard Joseph and then his Nigerian advocate Patutomi have caused prebendalism.
That's it.
A society in which we're just
what's in
sharing things. Okay, let me come to your professional sphere. You're a pharmacist. You're a leader within the pharmaceutical profession. You've been president of Lagos State Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, president of the National Association of Community Pharmacists. What are your thoughts about the health sector? I'm sure when you're ill, you worry.
I pray I don't fall ill. I mean, seriously ill. I mean, that's for everybody to. Our health is definitely not in order, and I think we just have to go back to the basics. Personally, I feel we're still all paying lip service to healthcare. There are clear indicators. First and foremost, that over 70% of illness is primary health care. And therefore, if you want to address health, you must address primary health care, where you will take care of 70% of the illness that you have in this country. It is the remaining 30% that you begin to that get more complicated. If you address the 70%, you find that there are less people that are going to the complicated aspect of it. But then what are we doing about primary health care in the real sense of the word? I think if we're going to tell the truth, it was only probably the time of Professor Nikoye Ramson-Kuti that we had a serious addressing of primary health care. And I think we're still throwing a lot of money towards healthcare in the wrong manner. I'm an advocate for healthcare financing. And healthcare financing from the aspect of government funding primary healthcare, funding it in a public-private partnership. In other words, this idea of government building primary healthcare centers, building that, is not giving us results. But by the time government says, you know, I'm going to write a check every quarter or every period for my citizens, and I'm going to insist that the private practitioner, the general practitioner, the pharmacist, the lab scientists give proper care to my citizens because I'm paying for it. Then we will, and my job as a financier is to set the minimum standards. Then we begin to get some direction in terms of primary care. But government trying to provide primary care, I'm sorry, it's not working.
It's not going to work.
If
we use our experience with,
I mean, we're not good. Government is not good at providing this kind of services, and it's not reinventing the wheel. If you look at countries abroad, across the world that are succeeding, it is a kind of public-private partnership that works in a way that you address those basic health issues, and then everybody feels a lot more comfortable.
Okay, that's health sector. We'll still talk about a lot more with Jimmy Agbaje. Let's take this time out. We'll be right back.
My name is Laide Awoyemi. I live for Lagos. You see as our new Lagos just defined the go. Good thing good though. To go market now, no hard at all. Just pay. Sit down inside BRT bus. Small time, you don't reach where they go. Hospital call, the full ground. And for me and my pikin where I just born, treatment now free. You look left, you look right. Them they build new roads, new hospitals, new schools, new things everywhere. Everywhere they shine, gone. We thank God though. But come on, I hear saying that this tax money where they pay, and then they use do all these good things. Me, they pay my own tax too. Say they pay your own.
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back. It's the Policy Council. We're talking across the range of policy, education, health, and for my last question on the health sector to Mr. Jimmy Agbaje. Why? Maybe you know why is there always this division between pharmacists and other health professionals and the medical doctors? It's, for instance, is one of the factors I hear impeding the passage of a national health law. What's it about? Well,
again, it's no different from what we said about Nigeria's problems. It's still about sharing the cake. You know, who does what?
Yeah.
In advanced countries, in developed countries, the roles are relatively clearly defined. The doctor diagnoses, the doctor prescribes, the pharmacist dispenses, and that's a role. But in Nigeria, what you find is that Nigerians are not ready to pay for consultation.
Okay.
So they're not ready to pay the doctor for his services unless they see medicines that go with it. And so the doctor says, I'm not going to leave dispensing because that's the only way I can get my money. The pharmacist too says, well, you know what? Me too, I will do some diagnosis.
I'll do my own pharmacy and diagnose too.
You know, so it's still about sharing the cake. And until we begin to tell ourselves that what is good for the person, what is right and what is wrong. Presently, it's right for as long as I'm benefiting, you know, and that's the way I just like to explain it. We've got to look at it from that aspect of it.
Let's widen the discussion on governance in Nigeria, development in Nigeria. What's your assessment? I mean, I'm sure I know what you're going to say, but let's start by taking your own assessment of governance, say, since 1999.
From my own experience, those who govern, in other words, those who run for elective office, for example, spend so much time trying to get power and spend very little time in how to deliver service.
Planning for when.
So you find that in many cases, there are many people who find themselves in office with no idea as to what they want to deliver. And before they realize it and settle down, another election is up. And so you're not having governance in the way it should. And I'm speaking generally. And that's why you find that in areas where some people that seem to have a little idea of what it's about become stars, you know, and that's how it works. So we must copy from other countries of the world where we begin to look at how to get this power. That power must be for service rather than for self. Presently, those who seek power, or many of those who seek power for self rather than for service. And so when they get there, they're looking after themselves. They don't even know how to deliver service,
even if they wanted to,
because they didn't plan for it. So they cannot even put a good team together. Because you see, if you have planned properly as to what you want to deliver, then you know the caliber of people you want to help you deliver this service. But if you haven't, then it's easy to just get there and say, well, you know, I've got this friend, this brother, this uncle, this godfather that we can put together and run government. And so we continue to suffer. The people continue to suffer in terms of development.
Somebody dared me. I mean, he said, Okwemi, I dare you to go and run for office as governor if you think you can do it. And I realized he had a point, because how will I do it? Even if where are the funds, where are the systems? So have we configured the structure, the substructure of politics and government? Have we configured it so that it produces this same outcome?
No, we haven't, because and our political parties are guilty of this. Political parties presently are just vehicles to seek power and nothing more. But what is worse is that they're not necessarily vehicles to seek power for the right people. It's just, let us just grab power and again, like I said, have our share of what is there. We're going to have to change that. In more developed systems, the political parties are a very veritable vehicle to drive policy. So they do have very strong policy research
infrastructure,
you know, that are doing a lot of work. It is the political parties and those kind of structures that begin to look at policy, look at how we want to address education. How can it be done in 4 years, in 8 years, in 12 years? Presently, all the political parties are doing is, how do we win the next elections? And so it becomes very difficult, you know, to have the right system. Now, in most cases, those who have an idea of what to do, like you say, are probably not even going to be the choice of those who control the political powers, the political parties, because the goals are different. But again, it's the people that suffer.
Let's take a time out. We'll be back again. We're having a fascinating discussion around policy, around governance with Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, a pharmacist and a politician. We'll be right back.
Who knows Abi better thing? Abi who know like better thing? All these fine things where they see so. Now money government they take do now. Abi, I think it's like, you know, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do a thing, I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. If you pay your tax, I pay oh.
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back. My final segment with Mr. Jimmy Agbaje on the Policy Council. Let me talk about democracy. We've run this democracy since 1999. We've had the elections in 99 and two others, or 203, 207, three others. What's your assessment? It's not, the assumption is that democracy will provide dividends for the people. That was our assumption in 1999. It's not. Or do you think it is? And what can we do about it?
Well, it's not the way we would want it to be. Especially in today's world, we must be in a hurry. So to the extent that we're not in a hurry, I mean, the fact that we have even had democracy since 1999 is for us in Nigeria a record. You know, so to that extent.
Recently I said, let's even count. How many years is this 1999 to date? 15 years?
Yes,
14, 15?
Yes.
It's a generation.
Yes.
And we could have totally changed Nigeria in 15 years.
Oh yes, definitely. But we've got to pay our dues. We're coming from military setting for the greater part of the independent Nigeria. So even our civilian governors still, a lot of them still behave like military dictators. But I think what I would like to say is that we need to move much faster in terms of dividends of democracy. And to move faster will be driven. You know, sometimes the leadership drives the process. Sometimes the followership can drive the process. And I think in the case of democracy, it is the followership that really drives the process. And we shouldn't fool ourselves that, you know, some leaders are going to get there and they're going to do what we want, you know, for nothing. The followership must drive the process, and it's very important that we emphasize that. Let me give, you know, just an illustration. The fuel subsidy crisis of last year, the Occupy Nigeria and all. It was a civil society driving a process. Now, we may not have got the fuel subsidy or whatever reversed, but you know there was so much ripple effect.
The conversation.
Yeah,
yes.
there was so much ripple effect. It brought about a Farouk Lawan Gate. It brought about the Otedola issue.
Yeah.
It brought about the reality that we spent 2.1 trillion on subsidy. But if civil society had not come out so strong, all that would never have happened. So there are things that we have learned from that process.
How can we apply that knowledge, that insight that you're offering, say, to the political party system?
It's the same kind of thing. And that's where you vote, with your card. You vote, you begin to tell the political parties that, this candidate is not for us. And therefore we're not going to vote for that candidate. When the political party realizes that it is possible for the people to say they are not voting for the candidate that they have brought. You see what you have, and again, we must accept that there is a measure of a coup by the political class. You find many of them talk about there being only two parties, that it's better to have a two-party system. What the political class basically is saying is, look, we want to stay in control of this process.
We want to control the mechanism.
And we're only going to give you either or. And what they're saying is, so if I'm bad, then
the other guy is
the other
worse.
Guy, you are probably going to take me. So while I agree that it's good to have two strong political parties, I do not agree that there should only be two political parties. So that the people can say, A, B, we're not going to vote for you next election. We're going to vote for C because we believe in the candidate that C offers. And the moment the political parties see that the people are wiser as to their choice, they're not just being fooled, they're not just being given a fait accompli, then they will wake up. And that's how you find that the followership will begin to drive the process. So it's important that we, the people, because you can say I'm on the other side too. Let's say that the people begin, to push the political class into the direction that they believe is right.
Are you optimistic about Nigeria's democracies, politics, society?
I am optimistic. Call me an incurable optimist. I am optimistic because, one, I believe that we have the will, we have the resources, we have the capacity to bring about a better country. And unless, I'm not going to say that democracy is the only system that works, but there's a bigger risk in allowing the wrong kind of dictatorship to lead us, as we have seen in the past. So it'd be nice to have a Lee Kuan Yew, but hey, I can't bet on it. So I'd rather not take that risk and take the surer process of a democracy.
Egbon, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Okoyemi.
It's been a pleasure.
Nice being here.
We'll be right back. That was a fantastic discussion I just had. I agree with Mr. Jimmy Agbaje. We need to stop being a sharing nation, but a producing nation. We have to abandon this path that has not worked for us. We need a more accountable democracy. We need citizen participation and people power to alter the course of our development. We need our people to understand that policy and leadership cannot be taken for granted. We must work for it. We must invest in our future. Thank you very much for watching. See you next.